Good morning, students. My name is Mr. Rodriguez, but you can call me Mr. R. And today, we're going to talk about photosynthesis. Now, photosynthesis is a word you surely heard before. As 8th graders, it's a topic I'm sure you've learned about. However, we're going to go into much more detail as to what the chemical process actually is. Understanding organic chemistry is important. It is the chemistry of life. And when you understand organic chemistry, you could see that everything living has a lot more to it than meets the eye. Understanding the processes by which life exists and sustains itself gives you a greater understanding of the world around you. To begin, let's go over some information we already know. Photosynthesis is the process in which plants acquire and produce energy. Much like you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, plants must undergo photosynthesis to produce the energy to grow. Photosynthesis is driven by three major components, the first being water, the second being carbon dioxide, and the third and most important component is sunlight. These three components are filtered through a plant's cells where photosynthesis occurs and energy is produced. Now, in previous lessons, you may have been presented with a more simplistic idea of what occurs during photosynthesis. In this diagram, we see sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. These are all being absorbed into the plant where photosynthesis is taking place and oxygen is produced as a byproduct. While this is accurate, I would like to go into a little bit more depth for the purposes of this lesson. If you see here, you can notice that carbon dioxide is broken down into a chemical formula, as is water and oxygen. These chemical formulas are actually referred to as compounds. This compound is comprised of one carbon atom and two oxygen atoms. You could tell that because when you see the C and no number after it, that is assumed to be 1. After the O or oxygen atom, you see a subscript of 2. That infers that there is 2 oxygen atoms in the compound. So carbon dioxide is made up of 1 carbon atom and 2 oxygen atoms. Furthermore, water, represented by H2O, is represented by 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. The compound of H2O is made up of 2 by the subscript 2 after the H and no subscript after the O, which, as we said before, is assumed as 1. The byproduct of oxygen is represented chemically by O2. O representing the oxygen and the subscript of 2 inferring that there are 2 of them. When we see these compounds, we begin to see the makings of a chemical formula, which is from now on what I would like you to think of photosynthesis as instead of this visual model. To further understand the photosynthesis process, I have brought with me a sweet basil plant. Next, we're going to take a look at a little bit of plant anatomy. If you'll notice, this sweet basil leaf is broad and tall, and you may notice the veins running from the top to bottom and from the center outward. This facilitates the movement of water, which aids the photosynthesis process, as well as optimizing surface area to soak up sunlight. The cell of a plant is a complex system. To the left of your screen, you will see the model of a common plant cell. Within it, there are many labeled items, as you can see, which are known as organelles. Organelles are the various functioning parts of a plant cell. Today, we are most interested in the chloroplast. The chloroplast is the organelle of the plant cell in which photosynthesis occurs. In this diagram, we can see the chemical reactions taking place within the chloroplast. Now, there are a lot of words and a lot of symbols going on here, so first I would like to define a few of them before I go on. As you can see, you see NADP and NADPH. These are chemical enzymes within the plant that facilitate the digestion of the water and the CO2. Once fused within these enzymes, they are able to produce glucose or sugar and starch. We're not so concerned with NADPH and NADP for today's lesson. What we are concerned with in this lesson is ADP and ATP. These are chemical compounds which are essentials to the energy of life. ADP, or adenosine diphosphate, is part of the Calvin cycle. The Calvin cycle takes in carbon dioxide and it moves it to the light-dependent half of the chloroplast. Carbon dioxide is electron poor, so when moved by ADP into the light-dependent side of the chloroplast, it borrows some electrons from the electron-rich H2O. In this process, assisted by these enzymes, we get a byproduct of oxygen and sugar or glucose. Once we get the byproduct of oxygen and glucose, we know that energy has been produced. This has been produced through the process of transferring ADP, or adenosine diphosphate as we said earlier, to ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is created by the moving of the electron-poor carbon dioxide to the electron-rich H2O. Through this process, assisted by light energy, which runs the entire cycle, the plant is able to produce the sugars and carbohydrates it needs for its structure and function, and gives off oxygen as a byproduct. This chemical reaction is like a small engine within every plant cell. So now that we have a little bit better of an idea of how photosynthesis works, it's really fairly simple. It's a matter of taking in molecules of carbon dioxide and water and converting them to glucose and oxygen. This chemical equation is represented by 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, or 6 CO2, and 6 molecules of water, or 6 H2O. These two groupings of molecules are assisted, or pushed, if you will, by light energy through the chloroplast of the plant cell. Once being pushed through with light energy, that energy is converted into chemical energy. That chemical energy is resulting in glucose or starch and oxygen byproduct. These two byproducts are essential to life on Earth. The oxygen for us, obviously, and the glucose for the plant, and for the humans that harvest it. I want to thank you for taking your time to learn with me today. I hope you learned a lot about the chemical composition of photosynthesis and the importance of organic chemistry. The formula you see above my head is the most important formula in the history of the evolution of life on Earth. Without photosynthesis, life would have never evolved above single-celled organisms. It provides us with oxygen to breathe as well as scrubs the atmosphere of carbon dioxide. Now, if you will take a moment to take the quick 3-question quiz I have added, I would be grateful. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. And again, thank you for your attention. Have a nice day.